It was one of those situations where it's easy to do the 9 to 5 and like feel fulfilled after that until you realize that you have like more to offer to some degree. It's so easy to think you know who you are when you're always around the same stuff. I think everybody has like aspirations, and you get to a certain point though where how much time do you have and how tired are you after work? And how tired you after work literally ends up dictating like the lives of a lot of people.
When you're in school, you can kind of like cocoon yourself and like work on your own terms.
Yeah.
When you're like, heartbroken, and it's like, but with a 9 to 5, you have to show up every day.
Yes, and people are expecting a lot from you as
Exactly.
well. That's an interesting point that you made there, because you do not get time off for heartbreak.
No.
You do not get time off
like,
for heartbreak.
I think this is my first time like truly dealing with it during a 9 to 5, and I couldn't function. I can't explain that to people. I can't be like, listen, someone just fucking ripped my heart out. Welcome to the Sunday Podcast. I'm Kayla Gordon, and I'm your host for this podcast, a podcast that talks to creatives that are in all fields, from illustrators to art directors, as well as founders of large and small businesses, diving into their journey, how they got to where they are, insights on their specific role, advice for anyone looking to get into their specific field, or anyone interested in just learning more about the creative world, looking at the lows, but also the big wins. This is the Sunday Podcast. Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. I am joined by Alagie Bah, who this is more like a co-host situation where like we talk about a topic, and hopefully this goes well and he comes back so I don't have to do all of these alone. But he does have a podcast and situation of his own. What is that called?
That is called The Soul Presents.
And honestly, production level up here.
Yeah, we try a little bit.
It's stunning, and he's interviewed some pretty cool people, so go check that one out. But today we're going to be talking about how to work-life balance. I had someone actually email me and ask me about this and to talk about it on the podcast, and I think that's something that I also struggle with. I mean, I think we all do, and we've talked about this before, but let's just start from the beginning about like working. Like I think we're living in an age where, especially because of COVID, that you know, you have your 9 to 5 and then it's like there's something afterwards. There's a 5 to 9 or a 5 to 12 even. And you deal with that too. Like when you had extra time, you're like, I want to take on this project. So it's like, what other, like, is that your mindset as well? It's like, once I finish my 9 to 5, there's something else.
Yeah, I think so. It used to never be that way. It was one of those situations where, you know, it's easy to do the 9 to 5 and like feel fulfilled after that until you realize that you have like more to offer to some degree.
Yeah.
So I would finish work and then I have a full day to do something. And I don't want to just sit down and waste my time.
Yeah.
Right?
And do you think it's also like the people that you like surrounded yourself with?
Yeah, I think so. So when I was surrounding myself with other people, it's easier to fill in that time, that 5 to 9, right? Living at school. But when I moved down to like where I'm at now, Bowmanville, I'm spending most of my time by myself. So I can't be idle, you know, from 5 to 10, 5 to 11. So that's when it kind of like initially started. And I was like wondering like, how can I like kind of push myself to better myself in whatever space I was trying to be in. And like, that's how it initially started. Yeah. And then, but work wasn't as demanding.
Yeah, you were at a different place.
I was at a different place.
Yeah.
So the work I needed to do was probably, I would say, if I'm working an 8-hour shift, I could probably finish it in 3. Right. So I had a lot of time on my hands.
Okay. Yeah.
So the situation was different, but that's how it came about and how I took on like that project, I would say. And
do you find that like now you're at like a more demanding job? Do you just like feel fulfilled in that then? It's where you're like, do you know what? I need to like take a beat and just do myself, not focus on a whole other project.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more, I'm just trying to be like more patient. Like for you have this podcast as well as like your own personal TikTok, right? Yeah,
and then, you know, I'm like freelancing and then I'm also starting an app. Like that's, I just got a call from someone with my app. Like it's nonstop.
So in that scenario for you, is it just that you're prioritizing certain things like at a certain time?
It's honestly, I think I've taken on so many projects and at different points that I don't like giving up on any of them. So when I was in school, you know, you didn't have that, you had that capacity, but you didn't feel like it was imposter syndrome where you're like, you know what, I can't do this, I can't do that. And then when I graduated, suddenly opportunities kind of came my way and I'm like, do you know what, maybe I'm able to do these things. And then I started them but I will never let myself do anything half-assed. So I'm like, I can't just, I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
So like with this app, obviously I'm seeing it through. We've had somebody quit and there's only 3 co-founders now. But I'm like, there's no way I'm giving up on this. Yeah. Like, I want to see it through. And like, when you believe in something too, it's like, you want to see it through. Exactly. So it's like with this podcast, like you have your moments where, you know, you need to take a break. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to see this die.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's like, I find that there's certain instances that I feel like where I won't do anything, but I'm passively moving the needle forward, if that makes sense. So anything that can come across that could help me, I'll like take note of it, right? Yeah. Even though I don't have the time, because like where I'm working at now, I'm also working at like a startup, a high growth startup, right? Yeah. So we have 14 of us now. We just finished a Series A.
14, wow.
Yeah, we just finished a Series A. So we're looking to get like 30 to 40 new people post Series A. Yeah. So I do need to be on call like all the time. So I don't really have the time, and it wouldn't be fair to the founders and the CEOs who've like, you know, put their trust in me to help move the needle forward. So I find that in that type of instance, I can't fully direct all of my energy or even a little bit to my own personal thing at a like concrete level. So what I do now is like, I'll meet with like Adam, right? And we'll just talk, or like I'll just write stuff down that I know that can help me, as opposed to actually doing like concrete stuff, right? So it's like different. Like I feel like for you, like you have the ability to like actually like just push, but I'm not. I need to take a break for sure. Like
there's definitely like moments where like I feel like I'm like burning out, but you know, I had my moment like for the past 2 months or even before that, and I'm like in this time period where I'm just so excited for everything that I can push. Yes. And someone asked me, you know, when I graduated university, I got a full-time job right away, which I'm so thankful for. But then I started taking on freelance work, and then another company approached me 2 weeks after I started my full-time job, and they're like, we want you to like come work with us. And they're like, can you do like 20 hours a week? And I was like, okay. Yeah. They're like, how do you have the time to do all of this? Because they kind of like interviewed me, and they're like, how are you doing all of this? And I'm like, honestly, like I'll sleep when I'm dead. But definitely like you're gonna hit a wall, but there's ways that I've like, I don't know. The thing is, like, you've known me. Like, I've always been like this. You've always been like that,
yeah. And I think that's the main difference between a lot of people. I feel like, I think everybody has like aspirations, and you get to a certain point though where how much time do you have, and how tired are you after work, and how tired you have to work literally ends up dictating like the lives of a lot of people. Yep. Because how much you want to put in when you do have to also cook, buy groceries, you know, traffic, all these things, they take time away. There's a dude, his name is Naval Ravikant, and he's a sick, like, he's an angel investor. And one of the things he talks about is when you're pursuing like passion projects, an important thing to do is know when to burst and when to like calm down. So when I'm like ready to go, I can go 3 months straight, like full, just all the way through. Yeah. And then I'll take maybe 2 months, you know, a month, and just not do like anything. Yeah. And that's kind of I think that's my rhythm while I'm still working. Yeah. I think when it becomes my main project, it'll be easier to stay consistent.
Yeah, of course.
But for now, as a side project, I just like run through it when I have the chance to go hard. So like this summer, I'll have a little bit more time because it's summer. It's nice.
Summer, you like doing that? Like I feel like summer is when I take the break.
I think winter for me it's like a planning session for me, like a planning season almost. Okay. Because I'm hibernating, I'm indoors more.
But that's my reason to grind in the winter. I'm just like, it gets darker earlier, so then I feel like, you know, I'm a morning person, but I also work a lot better at night. Like I feel like, I don't know, I'm both, to be completely honest. Like but once it gets dark, sometimes like it ignites in me. I'm like, oh, I can't go outside, I can't like do certain things. So, and it's cold outside, so I'm like, do you know what, I'm stuck. But when it's summer, I'm just like, I need to go on a bike ride twice a day. Maybe I'll go like get ice cream with my friends. Like this is my time to like do, and then you're like, oh wait, there's no time to do anything else. But that's fine.
Yeah. And I think that's a difference in personalities. Just a lot of people are going to agree with you, because I think you're an extrovert, right? Yeah. And I'm probably an extrovert, right?
Yeah.
But I've become more of an like introvert, but I'm still not an introvert. If you know I'm not an introvert. But,
no, yeah.
But it's one of those things where
I think you're an extrovert to the people you want to be too.
Yes, 100%. And I won't really give up my time.
Yeah.
For like a lot of people, I would say. So it becomes then, I don't want to go on like, do those things. Essentially like the bike rides and the ice cream things. I like to do it once in a while for me.
Yeah.
But in the summertime, I feel like this, like, I wake up early. It's like 7 a.m, but it's hot. Yeah. So I can take a step outside quickly, nice, fresh, fresh air. And then I can work till like 7, doing what I enjoy.
Yeah.
Right. And then I have a little bit of time to go play some sports or go on a hike or something. Yeah. But the weather is nicer. So I'm just like in a better mood.
Yeah,
and I'm
just
willing to be like up and working 24/7. It's completely different for me. That's why I want to live in somewhere like warm.
Yeah, I feel like I'm more productive in the heat, but then in turn it allows me, like, if I'm more productive, I get things done in a smaller amount of time. So it's like, when I wake up, I can go for a bike ride for an hour, come back, like take a breather, sit down, do my work, and then suddenly it's like 3-4 p.m. and I'm like, I'll go for another bike ride, come back, join another meeting, and I'm like, oh, the sun's setting, maybe I'll just like go on a paddleboard. Like I don't know, I feel like I'm so much more productive in the summer, but definitely like I'm better at managing like my work-life balance, where I'm like, okay, I can take a break, I can take a beat. Like this is the time that we look forward to the entire year. Like being a Canadian, like that shit's hard.
It's
like
hard, man.
But we're getting to the end of it.
Yeah.
Finally. It's almost summer. Yeah. I think you wrote down, we have more time than we think.
Yes. Yeah. We have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I think the difference between me and you as well, when we're talking about like projects, is I'm good with my time when it comes to my main priority, but for secondary priorities,
like what?
I'm very wishy-washy with my time.
What's secondary?
So my main priority right now is to like, I have an opportunity for growth at this company that I'm at for this app, right? And so I'm putting all of my eggs in that basket right now. Yeah. Not all of them, but most of them. Yeah. Right. And for me, the way I think about it is, okay, if I get to X level at this place, then I'll have the opportunity to spend more time with these things, right? Yeah. But realistically, I wake up at around 8, and I wake up at 7, but I'm functioning at 8. Yeah. Okay. So I don't usually I might be up, but you won't hear from me. Yeah. So what are you doing till 8? So I'm just laying there, brushing my teeth, just catching up on news, sports news, whatever. Yeah. But from 8 to about 5 is when I'm working. Okay. But with this company now, I'm usually going it's really it's not really time based, it's salary based. So the hours are not it's whenever your project is done, it's done essentially. Yeah. But you want to take on more stuff. But there are pockets of time that I could work on like a project of mine. Yeah. But my problem is I have problems with context switching, right? So for me to move on from one project that's completely different and move on to another one, it's hard for me to make that transition. Okay. Because the time in between that it takes for me to make the transition, I'll waste at least an hour. Okay. Right? Just sitting there, I've already done a lot of work here. Let me sit down and just relax for a bit. And then an hour turns into 2. Mm-hmm. But I could have done at least 1 hour of work there. Yeah. Right? So then it's nighttime now. I got to gym still. Right? Then I got to eat. Then I got to have downtime. Yeah. Right? So then it doesn't really, I'm not as productive as I could be. Even though at nighttime I'll listen to something that could help me, like a podcast, or I'll do a pitch package or something.
You're someone who also you're always you don't like downtime in a sense where you're your downtime is still learning and working on yourself.
Yeah. It is. But it's hard to, and that's working on yourself can help a project that for example, if I'm listening to something about how to be a better person, this is super vague, that can help me in one of my projects, but it doesn't feel, you don't really feel the correlation right away. Yeah. Right? So it doesn't feel like I'm actually doing anything that's concrete, right? So it becomes passive. But how much work can you do passively that can actually help your actual project? I'm not actually sure, right? It may feel like I'm helping, but I know that there's small things that I can do specifically that I know that will 100% move the needle forward. But I don't always do those things. Okay. Right? I don't always do those things. But I'm getting better, I'm getting better at it, and the weather's getting nicer, so for some reason I feel like I have more time.
Right,
even though it's the same
it's
regardless.
Still 24 hours.
It's still 24 hours. So yeah, I've noticed small things. I'll give you an example. It's like I'll listen to a podcast about being like I think I sent it to being instinctual. Right? Trusting your instinct, as opposed to working on a pitch package. Those things will take the same amount of time, but one of them takes more energy than the other, right? So I'll refrain from doing that because I felt like maybe I've already spent too much energy in the day, right? But I know that if I really want to move the needle forward, a pitch package will probably do that more than like this podcast. It's like situations like that.
It's funny because like I'm able to like just switch quite quickly. Like I have 2 keyboards and 2 like track pads, and as soon as it hits a certain time, I close one laptop, put it away, bring the other one, and switch the keyboard, switch the mouses, and then I'm starting the next thing. And the thing is, like, it's weird because like I have this sort of routine where I'm like, do you know what, like I have to eat dinner with my family at like a certain time because this is the only time that I can sit down with them, right? Like to sit down and have a conversation with like my mom and brother has become like so part of my routine in the past 2 years that it's like I know like I have my certain points, and I have set meetings that are like at like for when you're developing an app, right? Like you have meetings all the fucking time, and that's after your 9 to 5. So I have set days for that, and then I have set days for other things, and like somehow I don't know how, like it's just it all kind of works. But it's definitely like a lot. Yeah,
and that's such an underrated thing to mention. Time spent with family.
Yeah.
That concerns me on a day-to-day basis. Because spending time with my family and giving them enough time that they deserve. Because if I don't do it, then I feel guilty, right? And so anyone who's 23 to like maybe even 30, who live with their parents or live at home or people that matter to them, you do owe them a certain amount of time. Right? And so my challenge becomes, how much time do I want to spend on trying to like move, like just be a better person, like do better in my career, versus how much time do I want to spend with my grandma? Because 2 hours is a long time. Right? And so I always think like, oh, if I lived alone, then I would have more time to do more of the stuff I want to do, because then I don't have to worry about when I go into the kitchen, I got to talk for a little bit, this and that. So that becomes, I feel like I'm not ready to move out, for example, because I haven't been able to manage my time where I can like allocate X amount of time to my family and like my career and feel happy with both. Right now sometimes I feel forced to spend time with my family, which is not the best at this age, right? Because imagine I'm like 40 and I have like my own kids and shit.
So I think you'll be okay though. Like I think once we you know, I found that, I mean, you also like, you didn't live at home for so long. Did you find that you were talking to your mom more, like FaceTiming her and stuff?
But I think that but there's more to talk about as well.
It felt like less of a and it felt like less of a chore.
Exactly.
Like it's like I want to talk to her and like tell her about my day, or like tell her about AYZ. And like I was away for maybe like 6 months, and I wouldn't be seeing like my brother or my mom, right? And like I would be FaceTiming them, but I'm like I'm more excited than if I was at home, right? Because and it was also the distance thing, right? It was this distance thing, and I felt closer to her because I don't really like have a conversation like just her and I here, right? Like it's I'm always worrying about the next thing or this, but like having that distance, and I had like a time difference too, right? Like so I don't know, I feel like me leaving would make everyone a little bit closer. But the thing is, my worry is, you know, with my brother, I'm in my room and he just comes up like 4 times a day and just like comes into my room and just talks to me, and he won't be able to do that. It kind of scares me. And like, even, you know, it's just my brother and my mom, and I feel like that's so lonely. I'm like I'm the one who's like the middle person, and that's comforting. Like even if I'm just in my room, it's nice for them to understand, like, oh, she's here. Like the doors presence. And like when I was in Amsterdam, my dad kept my door closed because he pretended that I was working in there. Because I just like, I did that so often where my door is just closed. So for him to just like close the door and be like, she's just in there, right? Like it's just like that presence that is comforting for them. And I'm not like that, because I'm like, I love an empty house, so I'm the complete opposite. But I can tell like with them that the impact that I have. So it's gonna be like, even if I'm working, right, I don't have to be talking to them hours a day. It's just my presence is like kind of comforting.
Yeah,
just being there.
No, I can agree. Like, the way I think about it is like my grandma. It's kind of the same scenario. I think my grandma is happier when I'm around.
Yeah, she just likes your presence.
She does. And like, if I'm working upstairs, she enjoys that more than when I'm working in my room. But the truth is, for me to be as productive as I need to be working alone.
Yeah,
right?
that's
why I'll be in the library or I'll go to the office, one or the other.
Yeah.
And that becomes a problem with then the people that you care about.
Yeah.
Right? Like making sure that you can spend enough time with them so that they feel like valuable and worthy, versus the time that you spend like on your own. Right? Yeah. So
it's definitely finding a balance.
It's tough. And we don't have it difficult yet, man. Because right now, like, we don't have any like kids. There's no like significant other.
I cannot even imagine.
That needs your time. I used to want to, I was like, oh, I need a girlfriend. I need this and that. Yeah. And then when I started taking my life seriously and I had a girlfriend, I realized that the time, I'm not willing to trade that time in.
It's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time.
Especially if they're here. Like, I've only had to deal with long distance.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't imagine them being here and, like, oh, I have to, like, see them once a week and, like, go, like...
The texting.
Thing is, like, it's funny because the past person I was talking with, he didn't like texting. This is also kind of a red flag, but he like... We would only talk once a day, which I think is like kind of normal. Yeah. And it would just be FaceTime, which I think is like, it's kind of refreshing because like I'm busy the entire day, and to not be texting all the time, and like I feel like with a relationship too, like to not be texting every fucking like hour, like. And it's different now because, you know, we have 9 to 5s and it's not like school where like, oh, you can check in between classes and like sometimes you're so like focused on what you're doing. But just in terms of like relationships as well, and like I think with having that work-life balance is so hard when you're in a relationship, and one, like your family might be falling apart. Yeah. And two, like if you are heartbroken, like I could not imagine being married and then suddenly your world's falling apart and you're like, I have to go to work. Yeah. It's like I'm seeing this guy for 6 months, talk to him once a day. I couldn't function for a month. Yeah. Like, I was not eating, and, like, I felt like, you know, I was doing the bare minimum at work, and, like, they had no idea because, like, I would get my stuff done, but I knew I could push myself if I wanted to. Like, every day I can push myself, but, you know, when it's so, like, what is it, debilitating or whatever, where you can't function, and it hurts. Like, your heart literally, like, breaks. Wow. Am I okay?
Are you okay? That's completely
like,
fair, though.
But, like, it's so different when you have a 9 to 5. Like, we're in a sense like, well, you've been doing it for 2 years and you know, it's my first year, but when you're in school, you can kind of like cocoon yourself and like, you know, work on your own terms. Yeah. When you're like heartbroken, and it's like, but with a 9 to 5, you have to show up every day.
Yes. And people are expecting a lot from you as well, especially depending on what job you have. Right.
So yeah. And like, it's just, it blows my mind that there is no time off or anything for that type of situation. Like, there is for like loss when you lose someone, but when you're like, if you're dating someone for like 7 years and suddenly that's another loss, right?
And
like,
the only way that you can get time off is if like you're close with the person that can allow you time off. Yeah. Right. If not, though, you're right, and that is how production goes down. Right. You're not working at your best because you're hurt, and that's normal. That's an interesting point that you made there, because you do not get time off for heartbreak. No. You do not get time off for heartbreak.
I think this is my first time like truly dealing with it during a 9 to 5, and I couldn't function. Yeah. Like, and it's hard to like, I can't explain that to people. I can't be like, listen, bitches. Yeah. Like, someone just fucking ripped my heart out. They'd be like, okay, and it's like, well,
Well, that could become the norm though, where people do get, depending on who you're working with.
Exactly. Like if they've experienced it and they understand, then they'd be understanding. It's like if your boss does not have kids and suddenly if you have kids and you're like, I have to go this and this and this, and they're like, but why? It's like, you don't understand. Like, I'm a mom, I have to do A, Y, and Z. But if a mom is like your boss or manager, or if someone has kids, even if it's a dad, they'd understand more, right?
Yeah. And
be more empathetic. And not talk behind your back, being like, why do they need to go pick up their kids? Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But
it's funny on the other side of that though, and I think I might be like this type of person. If something like that does happen to me, I'm more inclined to want to work. Okay. Because I can forget a little bit about it.
But that's what I've turned into.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the healthiest thing though.
No,
then you're just repressing stuff, right?
But the thing is, during that month of me not putting myself forward, I let myself feel it all, right? That's why I was like not working and like not putting, like doing 100%, because I let myself feel everything and I wasn't suppressing it, because I'm like, if I don't deal with it now, it will hit me at some point. Like
which it always does.
It will. And like you obviously have your moments, but what they always say, and I always tell myself, is it takes 21 days to create a habit. So I'm like, if I stop talking to this person now, it's going to take 21 days to not feel normal. Yeah. Like, it's going to feel weird. It's like, wait, but I should be calling you. Like, I should see your face. Like, I should,
Especially when that becomes part of the routine.
Exactly. But 21 days, right?
Yeah.
So.
Do you think it's more about the routine that you're missing out on, or is it the person?
I don't know. It's hard because, like, it depends on the person as well, right? Like, I think the idea of it all was kind of fascinating to me, and I don't know, it's really hard. Like, I haven't like depicted yet if it was the person or the idea yet, because again, like, it was a long distance thing, and what I saw this person like 4 times in person, right? So I haven't figured that one out, and who knows if I will. But the thing is, I also like, I write everything down, and this is, I don't know if I'm gonna put this part in, but like during that situation, I would be writing everything down. So I have this journal of like our relationship, and I would say 80% of it is negative. And to not be writing that anymore, and to not have that routine of like, okay, something bad's happening, like I need to write this all down, is so nice. Like, it's so refreshing to be like, do you know what? You didn't fucking deserve that. Like, it feels like a weight lifted off my shoulder, and I'm like, there's so much like possibility now. Like, I don't feel tied down, and I don't know, it makes me work harder. And like, again, like being in a relationship, it takes away so much time and like your mental state as well. Where I'm like, do you know what? Like, because I've been so productive over the years, it's because I haven't had a significant other. Like, and I do equate a lot of like my success to that, because I didn't have someone pulling me back, and like, I didn't have that like heartbreak here and there. Like, this was it.
And
like
that transcends to friendships as well. Yeah. Right. It's relationships as a whole. Yeah. I feel the same way. I think when I'm by myself, I don't owe anyone any of my time. So I have more like autonomy over my time. Right. Yeah. It goes through friendships. There's friends that they do waste your time. Right. And
but that's the thing also. It's like, when we talk like about a work-life balance, I think it's important to choose things that you're excited about. Yeah. Like, after your 9 to 5, if you have made plans with someone you do not want to see, like, that's just more, it feels like work. Yes. It feels like an extension of your 9 to 5.
It does. It's because it's draining.
Yeah, it's draining. Yeah. That's perfect.
To spend time with somebody that you're not really excited to spend, and excited doesn't mean you have to be jumping up and down, but to see somebody once in a while, or to catch up with friends that you usually catch up with and do the same things, that's also routine, so that feels good as well. Yeah. But if somebody wants to hang out with you because you haven't seen them in a long time,
and it feels like work,
but do I have, like, is it necessary for us to really do that? Like, is it necessary? Yeah. And if it's gonna take your energy away or time from something that else you'd rather do, then there's no real point of doing that. Yeah. Right. You should not be spending time with people that you do not want to spend time with. It's really that simple. If somebody asks me to hang out and I don't want to hang out with them, I will not say yes, because in that situation, I'm not going to be my best self in our interaction. Yeah. Right. And then I'm also just not going to be happy. So it's a loss for both people involved.
Yeah, I think
it's one of those.
I think with anything that you have planned after your 9 to 5, you want to be excited about it. Like you don't, it doesn't want to feel like extra work. And that has to do with like, you know, with passion projects, there are certain elements where you're like, I don't really want to do this. But you do have to do it. But you need to like find the good balance of like, you know what, this is going to serve me in the long run, or this is not.
Exactly.
And that's like the thing with friends and like seeing people. It's like, is there any like, is this going to serve me after? Am I gonna get anything out of this? Like, if I'm not excited, like, why am I doing this?
It's kind of a, I almost want to say it's a little selfish to think that way, because you could also be benefiting these people by spending time with them.
You're right. Yeah, didn't think like that, but you're very right.
And that's doing a service as well. It is good for you, but at the same time, it's like we live in we know this is super individualistic anyways.
Yeah.
So
we live in a selfish world.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to isolate myself as much as possible. Isolate, yeah.
From who?
Just so that I have all the time to myself to do what I need to do, right?
You see a lot of people though.
At work, but it's different type of seeing as well.
Okay.
Right, and it's people that actually.
But you're here, and you're like, oh, I need to go see my friend, and I'm seeing. Yeah, you're seeing me.
But
we're seeing another person after that.
Yes, but these are people that I'm seeing that I know 100%. It's aligned with who I am and where I am, and it like pushes the needle forward. Yeah. I'm gonna see Adam today, most likely. I need to see Adam, not only because I also like Adam as a person, but seeing Adam pushes the needle forward, right?
Yeah.
If I see this person, like at this time, if I'm playing basketball and I meet with a friend, I need that time to meet with that person for that situation. Yeah. We do not need to hang out though if we're just sitting around doing nothing. Like if we're gonna hang, let's go play ball, or let's talk about something productive. But just that, there's only a few friends I have that I'm going to sit down with and just shoot the shit. Yeah. Just to let time pass by. Yeah. Because it becomes productive.
I feel like when we talk, we like go on a rant. Like this just feels like a normal conversation that we'd have.
It is. But it's beneficial. And you know, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's corny to do that, bro. Like you don't always have to talk about like, and that's true.
But I always leave our conversations just like feeling fulfilled and like, you know what, I've learned something.
Yeah, 100%. And you don't, and this is the thing though, you can't chase that all the time. Yeah. And so where I'm lacking a bit is I forget that small talk is actually important, and like that stupid shit is important, right? No, and I actually enjoy it, but at the same time it's like I don't go out of my way to find it. When it usually comes, it comes like naturally. Yeah. And I can usually find it with like coworkers. Yeah. Like we're into the same stuff, you know, so I get my fill in like a team meeting, right? So that at 8:00 I don't need it.
Yeah, and it's also like when you're working in a place where you work so closely with people, you get your social like fix already.
Yeah, and it's creative industry. Yeah. Right? Like so I'm at a sports app, and so I'm surrounded by like engineers, right? Product designers who like sports. Yeah. Right. So I'm getting my fill in not only when it comes to like important conversation and getting the chance to learn, but I do get the other side of, yo, did you see what happened last night at the game? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And trying to integrate both of those worlds. Right. Yeah. So that's why it's almost like for me to chop it up with a homie, you know, about it, it's like it doesn't become a necessity for me. Yeah. I'd rather talk about something else with that person.
I think you're in a very like special place where, you know, a lot of people don't get to do what they love, and like it also has to do with like things that they actually love. Like you love sports.
I do.
And then, you know, you want to like get into this tech world and like understand that more. And I think you're like in a very special situation like that.
You get lucky, and it's the most interesting thing.
It's work.
It's work. It's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of luck though. Right. But you do make your luck though, right? It's funny though, because sometimes I'll do streams for this, right, for my work, even though I'm not supposed to be doing it, but I'll do some streams, right? And like I think like people will be like, bro, like you're streaming, like is that even work? And I'd be like, bro, all the hard work I did to get here was to be able to do something like this where it's not hard.
Alagie, you're telling me where I make TikTok sometimes, you see what I'm saying?
For work. For you to get to that state where you can do that as a job, you had to work
people to understand
the trivia stuff, the tough stuff, learning how to do this, learning how to do that, and then that's when it comes.
People like the thing is like when you talk about like you doing a live stream, like that is part of it's a huge thing because they're listening to your experience. Like,
yes.
you've had how much experience about this topic, about, you know, to get to this point. And then people don't realize that, like, when, even for like quote unquote influencers, like, I'm at a point, you know, where I'm getting paid to make videos, and I'm like, I've been doing this since I was 14.
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand that I've been working towards this since. It's just so happened that, you know, like, you get suddenly a break. You're like, do you know what? People are recognizing this.
Yeah.
And it's not like it came out of nowhere. Like, I've been working on my craft for so long, where I'm at the point where I get to do what I love finally, right?
Exactly. And
people don't realize that.
Yeah. And for me, like, it took me until university, but I got to university and I started to learn about using Adobe, right?
Yeah.
So I used that to then work with Brock's team. And I was able to do interviews and stuff, but I was cutting those interviews on my own.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the trivial part about it. That's planning on who I'm going to talk to, what I'm going to talk about, right? So that's one stage of it.
People don't see the behind the scenes.
They don't. And then it becomes, okay, I'm just going to work on this project, and there's no end sight there. There's no like, oh, if I do this, it'll help me get this. It's kind of like, this will help me, you know, work on skills that I want to develop. So I worked on those skills, right? Learned it on my own.
Yeah. And
then the opportunities come where I'm able to do stuff that I actually enjoy. But I still have to do a lot of like planning, you know, research on things, a whole bunch of other stuff. But at the same time, it's just like, my job is nice. Like, I really enjoy it. Like, it's insane how much I enjoy it. And at the same time, I get bored of it sometimes. And I'm like, oh, I want to do something. But that's just normal.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be working anywhere else. There's not a single place right now that I'd rather be working than where I'm working. Right. That's and that took a long, really took a long time. Yeah.
But again, like, it's amazing because, you know, people who I've talked to on this podcast are all in the creative field. And I'm like, when they're talking about what they do, they have genuine passion and excitement about it. And I'm like, you don't understand how lucky you are to be able to like know what you want to do, first of all, and like actually follow through with it, because people go their entire lives hating what they're doing, you know. Like, when I dropped out of school, a teacher came up to me in the mall, and like I told her that I dropped out, and she's like, you know, I have like, this is amazing, because like for an 18-year-old to make this decision is insane, because you know, I have friends who went into school for accounting and they became accountants, and you know, they didn't like it then, but they like kind of just stuck through it, and now they're 40 and they hate their lives. Oh man. And it's like
scary to me.
No, it's scary because, you know, you reach a point where like you have kids and you need that stability to a sense, right? Like, people are relying on you. It's not just yourself anymore. So you just kind of, you stay in the circle, and it's so, I feel so bad, but be grateful for the fact that, you know what, we've been working, and as young, like we were 18 when we kind of figured it out, or 19 or 20, and that's still young.
Super young.
And you know, even if you figure it out when you're 30, like, you still have so much time. Like, man, you can figure it out at 40. Like, as long as you are able to switch and make a change for yourself, and you're able to, like, not everyone is able to make that switch when you're 40. No, because you have to be stable.
Well, most people don't make that switch at 18 unless they have backing. Yeah. Right. And so you doing that is, I always tell you, it's impressive. Just to be able to go to school, knowing that you can excel at it if you really wanted to. Of course, yeah. And then still decide not to. Yeah. Right. But that also shows the faith that you have in yourself. Right. Yeah. Another thing, though, that's really important, and this is a little bit of a cheat code for people. If you're planning, it's much easier to turn around and to turn back when no one is relying on you. Yeah. It's very easy. So don't have any kids. At a young age.
At a young age. I'm like,
don't have any kids. Be careful of the significant others. Yeah. Right? Make sure your parents have a solid understanding of, I come from an African background, right? So it took me a long time to gain my mom's trust, where she lets me do whatever I want, right?
But was she strict on like what you went to school for? And
she wasn't actually. Okay, she wasn't. And so I was lucky in that sense. She always had faith in, I guess, right? That you'd get to the point. My teachers told her that it would be okay. I just need to stop talking a little bit in class, right? Just pay attention to detail a little bit more. But it was always essentially there. So I got lucky in that sense. But a lot of people, they're forced to be in fields that they don't want to be in. And then they do have kids at young age. They do have a significant other that they need to provide for. So they can't turn back. Yeah. So if you are in a position where you don't have any of those responsibilities, don't take them on until you know exactly what you want to do. Yeah. Right? That's what I feel.
I think that's, it's, you know, I feel for people who aren't able to make their dreams, quote unquote dreams, come true because they have other responsibilities, and like we're able to just like, it is so satisfying for me right now to just be like, I'm gonna hop on a plane. Like the amount of times I just leave, people are like, how? I'm like, because I can. Like I'm not gonna be able to do this forever. Like one of my friends, he's, you know, we graduated during a time where there was a global pandemic. So usually people, when they graduate, they don't go straight to work. Some people, like, they take a month off and they travel. Like we never got that. We kind of were forced, like full force into this. And he, you know, he's been working for a few years, and he's like, no, I'm gonna travel for like a month and a half. I haven't seen the world. I'm gonna go to Asia. I'm gonna go to Europe. And like he has a great job, and he's like, well, if they don't let me take the time off, like that's it. Like I'm not gonna get this time back.
Exactly.
And I think that's the hardest thing for me to cope with right now, where I'm like, I kind of want to do the same thing, but I have so much like riding right now. Like I have so many commitments, and at points I'm like, well, shit, like, and that's why I'm like, I can hop on a plane when I want to, because I can right now. But I know like down the line, there's people relying on me, like with this app. Like I can't just switch to a different job, like my full-time job, because I'm like, if that's like, I'm looking at jobs that are not in Toronto, but I'm like, this app's based here, and the people are based here, and like as a co-founder you have this responsibility, and like it's not like like there's people's money involved, like you have investors, and that's one of the scariest parts. It's like you're playing with people's money.
Yes, man. So just recently we just got a raise, like $8 to $12 million raise, right? And our CEO, he's a legend. His name is Kev Money, right? His name is Kevin Kim. We call him Kev Money. And he's like, we just had to have we have team meetings every day, and in this team meeting, it was after we got the raise. We had just went out the week before. And he's just like, we have to make sure we don't get too comfortable, because now we've gotten a decent amount of money, and he's like, not only do I not want to lose here, but I don't want to take their money and make it go to waste. Right. And he's saying the exact same thing, because this is people's money. It's a lot of money, right?
And you know, that's the thing with investments though, like they do take the risk, but at the end of the day, they're still humans, and like you're empathetic as well. You're like, I'm not, you know, I want to put this to good use. This isn't just some little game for anyone.
He's like, I don't want to take the money if I feel like we can't, you know, do what we have to do. So it's I've never been in that situation where I've taken anyone's money yet. Even though I'm going to be soon, right? I'm planning on doing something like that soon, for a little pitch package. But in that sense, I already know I'll be prepared to make sure that I don't let those people down who have like trusted me, right? So it's a...
But again, like not everyone has to deal with like that, right?
No, they don't.
Like I'm fortunately and unfortunately, like dealing with this, I'm not able to just, you know, be like, I'm gonna backpack for 2 months. I can't.
Never.
Unfortunately.
Never. It's not, and it's not. It's funny because
but like that's also what I want, right? Like I'm not.
You're making that choice.
I am making that choice.
A lot of people, people don't have that choice though.
They don't.
Some people want to backpack for 2 months, but they just can't, right? Because of financial reasons and whatnot. You're in a great position. I think we're in a great position. I think if I wanted to, I could definitely take a trip and work from wherever I am. You know, I want to do it very soon. I'm thinking of doing it soon. Okay. But a lot of people don't get that luxury. And that's unfortunate. But you just have to make it for yourself to some degree. Not everybody has the chance to make it for themselves, but that's just the way the universe goes, right?
Just in general, like how to work-life balance, I think it's so hard with like working from home, and I think we're going back into a more normal state in a sense, like quote unquote. I think forever people will be in a hybrid situation. It's like, do you know, I need to take the meetings from home this day, and that's going to be fine, but it was definitely hard during the pandemic because every day kind of felt the same when things were closed, and like you were working at the same place, and like I was working in my bedroom, like my desk was there, I was doing my 9 to 5 and then my 5 to like 12 all in one place, and then I was just going to sleep right beside that. And like sometimes that's hard. Like it was fine at the beginning, and I was fortunate enough when this all started that I was in school where I went to Amsterdam. So it was really like broke everything up, where it's like, you know, I was working from here for a month and then I left, and went to Amsterdam for like the beginning of the pandemic for about like 4 months.
Wow.
So it really switched things up for me, and I'm grateful for that. But you know, when I came back and like even working a 9 to 5 here, it's like you need to have a different place from your bedroom sometimes to like even like go to your dining room table, like switch up your environment as much as you can. And I don't know, it's hard. That's the work-life balance in that sense. Like we've never had that situation before, right?
Getting to choose your setting from where you're gonna work.
Yeah, and even like work-life balance in regards to dealing with work, dividing work, where you work and where you live, because it was all one and the same.
Yep.
And that's where people kind of overworked, you know, and that's where I'm like, do you know what? Let's just start all these projects, because I'm like, I'm just working. I work here, I live here, I can do all the same. Like I can work for 14 hours a day.
Yeah, your room is supposed to be a sanctuary away from work, but we turn it into
it's become just a workspace. So I just work all the time, and I haven't found that balance yet. Like I am working.
It's so funny,
16 hours
like
a day.
the way we're talking, like we haven't found that balance. You're like 23 years old, and already dealing with this shit, man.
But the thing is, not everyone is in this mindset.
No,
and that's where I'm like, I feel like I'm hoping some people can relate to this, but I will say like, I don't know. We're on a different like.
Well, there's a similarity of the person who has to go into the office or do construction and work. Yeah. And then gets home and stresses about work at home. Yes. Right. It's one and the same. Just I guess one is chosen, the other isn't. Yeah. Right. It's all the same. The idea of your home is supposed to be a sanctuary away from all work-related things. Yeah. So what me and you do is we decide to take on more things. So then we decide to work from home. Other people go to work, come back from work, and then stress at home. Yeah. It's still the same thing. Yeah, you're right. There's not much of a difference, right? Just like kind of like picking your poison. The ideal way to do it is to be very efficient with your time, to the point where no matter where you are, once you get home, it's like, okay, I have the ability, because I've already put in so much time away, I have the ability to just like chill now, right? Yeah. And like leave work where work is, and just keep like your home space as a place where you can relax. I think I've always, one of my like biggest things is time management, and I've been someone who I've just like nailed it to like a T. Like I'm able to time manage ever since like I was in high school. Like even in high school, I can't believe some of the shit that I did. Like during exam time, Alagie. No, I know. I was there. I know.
I know that, but like it got to a point where like if I like didn't know a subject, like science was hard for me. Like it wasn't my best grade. It was still a good grade, but it wasn't the best grade.
That's a little different from me.
but I had to work harder at that. So what I did was, when exam time came, I split up my day into literal hours and exactly what I would be studying at this point, this point, this point, this point. Have time for lunch, have exact times, and I would stick to it. And that kind of followed through with me to now. Like I write everything that I have to do down. That's my biggest thing is, you know, I've always said this, you're 80% more likely to do something if you write it down. Yeah. So I've had a journal for the past, I don't know, few years when I'm working full time. It's like, you know, I have a work journal where like you have to get this done, and that's a little bit more wishy-washy. But then like my personal one, it's like every single day, what do I need to do? Even if it's just like I have like workout, my full-time job, I'm like Jenny Bird, and then I'm like email this person, do this, do that, and like sometimes you forget about things. Yeah. So if you write it down, you're like so much more likely to do that. And you know, I plan every single Monday. That's my day. I'm like, Monday, sit down, plan the entire week. And obviously things will change and things, but to sit down and like have that schedule, like, and some people like they have like their Google calendars and like that works for them. But again, like I'm someone who like tangibly writes things down, and crossing it off like is so fucking satisfying.
Yeah, you were inspiration for me to get a journal. I
remember going and getting a journal.
Yeah, we got it at Indigo. I think it made a big difference for me. I don't use it as much as I used to. Yeah. But it really kept me accountable. Also just writing down my thoughts and how I was feeling.
You wrote everything down.
Everything down. Yeah. Everything. And so I got the chance, even now, I still sometimes open the black book. It it's filled. It's done. No pages left.
You need a new one.
Yeah, I do. I have a blue one. I haven't like dived too deep into it, but it's there for me when I'm ready.
So nice that you have that journal.
Yeah, Isn't
it nice?
Oh man, I look back on it. I remember I went to Vancouver for a summer.
Wow, and you took that one?
I took it with me, and I actually missed my flight, right?
I didn't know that.
And I had to pay another $1,600 just to get the flight back.
Alagie.
And so I wrote it in my journal though, and it was a moment that I was like, okay, like these are things that you've like certain characteristics about yourself that you've had since you were young, where you have the big picture of knowing you need to take the flight, but you may miss the detail, as in it's COVID now, so this time is not the same time that it would usually be. But I decided not to read it. So I was able to look at that, write down where that stems from, and then look back on it. And it's like, okay, like, how are you still working on that? How do you feel about that? And I feel like I'm like way better with like the minor details.
Yeah.
I came here today though, and I forgot my wallet because I'm thinking about everything else that I have to do for the day, right? So it's like small stuff like that I can put that down in the journal again and say, look, you've made it this far, but here are like lapses that you still have. That's what the journaling thing is. It helps. It makes your life so much easier. It really does, especially when it comes to time. When you journal, though, do you find that you have to complete the task every time or no?
No.
Okay.
There are days when, sometimes I'm like, do you know what? This can cross over to tomorrow, or I can do it on Friday, and I'll just cross it out. I'm like, and it's, when I cross it, I'm like, okay, do you know what? You don't have to complete this.
Yeah.
And there's certain things where I'm like, do you know what? It is time sensitive, but there's definitely a lot of like lenience. And I don't feel bad about not completing it.
Okay.
But something like working out, I'm like, well, fuck. And it was dude, I have like a routine, and I stopped the routine like last month when the fucking heartbreak. I'm like, no, the thing is, don't let anyone fucking take away your sparkle.
Yeah.
And like I was losing, like I'm a very like energetic, happy person, and like I was throwing a birthday party for Lexi, and I planned this for a while, and I had like, that's my dream, and like my ideal situation is to sit down, have a dinner with your closest friends, celebrate someone's birthday, and like have a home cooked meal, and like that's what was happening. And I've never been so sad.
No.
And I was just so like, people were coming up to me, they're like, Kayla, like, are you okay? And like, I couldn't hide it. Like, you're not yourself. You lose the part of you that like, I lost like my quote unquote sparkle. Like it was, I'm happy you never saw me in that state, because you've been like, what the fuck, Kayla?
What
like,
is this? I'm
like
on your ass.
Yeah.
It's natural for that to happen, and I've been in situations like that for sure. I remember when we were working at Jamesville, right?
Oh, I lost my sparkle there too.
I lost my sparkle there.
You definitely I saw it sometimes in you. You saw it in me too, though.
100%. There were times I remember, and Tammy, God bless that lady. I haven't talked to her in so long.
Yeah.
But I remember I came in just one day. She just like, and Jackie. It was her and Jackie, and they wanted me to speak in front of the Hourland thing.
Okay.
And help do the presentation.
Yeah.
And I was like nervous to do it, and they're like, Alagie, like, you're nervous? Like, this is not even, since when are you nervous to do stuff like this?
Yeah.
And I guess it was just like, it was like a transition I was going through, like trying to figure out who I was, because I had been around this group of people, then I was like with this group of people, and I kind of like lost a sense of like my identity, right?
Yeah.
And so I was in a transition period, and I was like, people were also noticing, like my family was noticing, and like people that like I cared about, they're like, yo, like, you good, bro? Da 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 da.
Yeah.
And so, but you need those instances, I feel like, to really come back to find out who you actually are. It's so easy to think you know who you are when you're always around the same stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That's why it's important to be in relationships, meet new people, because those people are going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Right? And so
they give you a different perspective.
They do. And then once you're just like, oh, I like this perspective a lot, right? Let me adopt it. And then you realize, wait, this doesn't even align with who I am.
Yeah.
So then you got to go back, right?
Yeah.
But every time you challenge yourself in that sense, you will get a chance to find out who you actually are more and more. And so for you now, after this heartbreak, when you get into your next relationship, or you look towards your next relationship, you will know what things you're going to be looking for, so that you can avoid what recently just happened. Yeah. Right? And that becomes better self-awareness on your part, because you know what you want more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all those situations where you're getting hurt by people, or you're no longer friends with them, or you meet new people who make you nervous, all beneficial,
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it, in that moment.
Yeah, I've definitely, like, if someone takes away a part of you that you love, they're not benefiting you, they're harming you. Right? And that's what happened to me. I'm like, I'm not the same person I used to be, and
but give that up. That's okay. Give it away. There's this super dope story, right?
Okay.
I think I told you this. There's this place in the States that you go to. You go to this door and you bring all of your valuable possessions with you.
Okay.
Right? And you go to this place, and each time you make it through a door, you have to choose what is more valuable to you. You go to this place and you bring your most valuable possessions with you: your phone, your wallet, your keys.
In the States?
In the States, it's just one place. Like,
okay.
It might be multiple places. You could maybe find it in Canada. Every time you pass through a door, you have to give up something that you love. Every single time, through every door. And
why would you do that?
because by the time you get to the end of the door, to the last door, it's like you don't really need any of these things. And so that when you get them back again,
they give you the stuff back?
They give it to you back at the end.
Do you know that?
You don't know that.
Damn.
Right? You don't know that. You just think that it's gone, and you're trading this
and
for this.
You're okay with it.
Yes.
Okay.
But some people, they decide not to go on with it. They stop.
And they don't get their stuff back?
They don't get their stuff back. This is actually, and where I heard this story from was I was listening to a podcast about being a stoic, right? And so the idea of like stoicism is that I'm gonna butcher this. So if you're listening to this and you know what stoicism is, I do not. I just know this vaguely.
Okay.
But it's just like that nothing really matters, in the sense that, like, what's the point of thinking about it? So like Stoics believe that one way to be grateful, for example, is to think about what life would be like if somebody died. Like the person that you love died. You'll be more grateful for that person.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Just like stuff like that. So in this sense, it's like you give up all these things, and because you've given them up, once you get them back, you will appreciate it that much more, right? So you give your love to this person, right? Now that you've been hurt, when it's your time to find love again, you'll treat it with more like caution.
Yeah.
Right? And not just be so willing to, based off whatever reasons you were doing before.
But don't you find that like people have like their guard up a lot more and they don't let other people in then?
No, I think
or they just haven't grown up yet.
No, I don't think so. I think they do let their guard up, but that has nothing to do with the other person usually, right? It's about like how you're feeling about yourself. I think letting your guard up is looking at things in a negative way, right? Oh, this person can hurt me again, as opposed to this person can be better than the other, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about, use of language and what mind frame you're in. For me personally, in the relationships that I've been in and girls that I've been with, things I like in these people that I don't like in them, but then sometimes it flips.
Yeah.
It's random. Some person, like, I'll just give you an example. There's this girl that I've been like kind of seeing, right? And, you think you want a girl that's smart, right? Because the last one wasn't as smart, for example, right? But then you realize maybe that's not what you want, or maybe you want it in a different type of way. You're never actually sure until you try, so there's no reason to be scared. But you do notice triggers, right? Small things in certain people that for sure you don't want.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is like having a set of like values and things that matter to you and only you, right? So one of mine is like peace of mind. I always talk about peace of mind, how important that is, and having somebody who is genuinely open-minded to the point where if somebody did something messed up to you, you have an understanding of why that person did that. And even though it can bother you, even though it makes you mad, you're allowed to feel those feelings, right? But do understand that a lot of it is like projection. You see, that is so detailed, but that is something that I look for. I know that it's something that I need to have in a partner, for example, right? So it's like just knowing what you want exactly is the most important thing, but you cannot realize what that is until you get like your heart broken, you know, or you go through different instances where you've been in different relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
It all goes so much deeper, and it's like,
don't be scared of it.
No, but then like it's so funny talking about all of that, and then how it even just coincides with like, we're talking about work-life balance and like that things that like you've experienced like that, it ends up affecting your work, and sometimes in the best way, right? Like you'll be able, like that's what artists deal with, right?
Yes. But the best artists are people that get hurt a lot.
Exactly, that's my point.
Yeah.
You know, right? It affects their work, and sometimes in the best fucking way possible.
Yeah.
Like, they create some of their best work, and, you know, there is, you know, we do have a work-life balance, but sometimes it's okay to affect it. Like, they can cross over, right? Like, it's
funny though, because I do like when I'm like, if I'm creating something, I do like doing it at nighttime. There's something that's more somber about it.
Yeah.
It's not as joyful.
A lot of creative people like the night.
It's a nice time to do stuff because your mind is clear.
The world's also quiet.
Yeah, very quiet, right? And so it's a beautiful time, but it's kind of not depressing. That's a little extreme, but it's not happy. I wouldn't consider. No. I don't do my best work giddy.
Yeah.
You know, I do my best work when I'm like even keel. It's dark.
Yeah.
Right. The only light is my monitor.
Yes.
Right. That's the state, the vibe I have to be in.
Yeah.
And I can really just go with it. It's a perfect mode for me. And a lot of people that create, I feel like.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was a great conversation.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Our conversations are always all over the place, so hopefully someone gets something out of this.
Yeah. If you're 20 something, even 30 something maybe, you're definitely gonna relate to it.
Yeah.
100%.
I would. I mean, also we're the ones talking about it, but
yeah, so we relate to it. That's true. Try to be as vague as possible so that everybody can resonate.
People deal with heartbreak, so mine's like relevant.
Exactly.
I'll relate to this like in 30 years.
Yeah, listen back on it.
I hope not. Anyways, thank you for coming on the podcast. Where can everybody find you and your podcast too?
Wow. Yeah, so thanks for having me. You can find me on Alagie Bah _ on Instagram. And you'll see some clips there, but on YouTube it is The Soul Presents. The podcast is just about successful people and their trials.
Is it also on like Apple and?
No, not as of yet. No full episodes yet. No full episodes. Don't worry. Season 2 is okay. We're like, you already started your season 2.
Yeah, this is my season 2.
We'll do our season 2 soon, and then we'll have it on different platforms where you can get full versions of things. I just cut these for now.
Stunning.
Yeah. Thanks.
Anyways, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our guests for joining us. You can find the Sunday Podcast on streaming platforms. You can also find us on Instagram @SundayCreativeTO for all your business tips and creative inspiration. See you next time on the Sunday Podcast.